You're listening to the Cantina Cast, your home for thought-provoking Star Wars talk. Join Albert and Jonesy in breaking down the latest news, trailers, movies, and of course, your favorite characters from a galaxy far, far away.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Cantina Cast. And we've got hey, look, hi. Let's start that over. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Cantina Cast. My name is Albert Padilla, and this is episode 581, our breakdown of the Skeleton Crew trailer, which just premiered 2 days ago and gave us more insight, or maybe it didn't, into what we've been discussing, what we've been theorizing now for the better part of, oh my gosh, almost 6 months, ever since we've got, honestly, since the footage that was leaked at Celebration came out. We've been talking about this stuff, and a lot of what we've been theorizing, I think, has come true, manifested even as far back as that goes. So that's going to be fun. We're going to break all that down to the nth degree, and with me to do that is, of course, Jonesy. Jonesy, welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic. Yeah, it's good to finally have an official trailer. We're a month in or a month out, right? So
yes,
now we're going to start to get the onslaught. They were starting to tease us a little bit with some content. Now we got a little bit of an article to go along with this. Not a whole lot in the article, but a little bit. We'll touch on that too tonight. But good to finally have some content to be able to talk about and understand, at least in theory, what this show might actually be. But to your point, still not sure we're getting a really great feel for what the story will be. But we are getting some high level items. So we'll talk about that tonight, and it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Now this is I'm excited to discuss this trailer for a number of reasons. Least of which is the 80s music that was introduced to it as well. So
I was not expected to hear Major Tom. That caught me off guard. And then to hear it in Huttese, that was even more surprising. So
before we get into all of that, I know you want to say thank you to some very special folks.
Yeah, and I'm not going to do these in Huttese if you'll permit me the ability to do it in English, Albert. So
sure.
Yeah, huge thanks to our Patreon members, cantinacast.com/Patreon. Our now part of the tribe members, Alex, Raphael, Danny, Mike, Lauren, Dante, Risk, Justin, Jackson, Sharkman, Dan, Daz, Isabella, Uncle Leon, Josh, Jacob, and Rita Reborn, and our top tier members and the Delusions of Grandeur members. Now, this is Rod Racing, CJ, Steve, and Rob. Thank you all so much for your continued patrons. Again, cantinacast.com/Patreon. If you would like to consider that right after this show, Albert and I are going to do episode 5, the penultimate episode of Star Wars A New Hope, the television series called The Circle Is Now Complete. So we're starting to get to the end of that series. Really just an excuse to break down Star Wars A New Hope. So if that's up your alley, you can join us on the live stream right after this if you're a Patreon member of now part of the tribe and up, or you'll be able to hear it here in just a couple of days. So thank you for all of that. And if you are listening to this, thanks for the download. If you'd like to come out and visit us on the live stream, cantinacast.com/YouTube. You could join Alex, Sky, my Star Wars guys, One Up versus CPU, Music Train, any of those in the background. We see you out there. Thank you for all coming out. We certainly appreciate it. And also cantinacast.com/YouTube, like Lauren and I were talking about. She's got a lot of great content coming out that is out now, as well as what's coming out here pretty soon on Jedi Novel Archive, so on that part of the channel too. So make sure you go out there and follow Lauren's side of things too. She does an amazing job with all the books. She is hopefully getting to Padawan's Pride here pretty soon, the Audible original, as well as she's just got out of doing Mace Windu, Glass Abyss, things like that. So awesome content out there. Lots of stuff for everybody on both YouTube and on Patreon. We would love for you to check it out.
Yeah. And on that note, speaking of programming notes, you guys just wrapped up the Halloween special, which I wasn't able to partake in. Unfortunately, I was a bit under the weather, but you guys were able to cover the Count Dooku Prince of Darkness story by Cabin Scott. That was a fun read. I did read it. I just didn't get a chance to talk about it. So I have not had a chance to even watch that episode. But if you guys are still in the Halloween spirit 3 days later, go out and take a listen or even view the show that Lauren and Jonesy put together here just a few days ago for that. Let's see, upcoming, as Jonesy mentioned, after this, we'll do our Patreon exclusive. That Circle Is Now Complete. That's been a lot of fun. I'm already looking forward to The Empire Strikes Back, to be honest. I'm already planning and plotting how we're going to do that. We may have to take a break, though, because
I hear that movie's kind of okay.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. But if you're unfamiliar with what we're doing on Patreon, we're breaking this down as though it was a television series. We're giving you kind of where this episode starts, where it ends. And we talk about all the great stuff that we loved about in the episode itself. Things, we reminisce about the past and revisionist stuff that's happened since then, through special editions and whatnot. And then at the very end, we rate it as though it were like an IMDb kind of television show. So you get to hear our ratings for that one episode, air quotes there. So a lot of fun. That's on Patreon right after this, exclusively to our Patreon members. And then this Wednesday, we'll finally get around to Insurgency Rising Part 2. So this is the Battle of Jakku comic by Marvel Comics. We did the first one, but I've been itching to talk about the second one for a number of reasons, and I won't keep playing the Mara J joke, but there's just a lot to talk about there. We've already got issue 3 out, so we'll be able to put that together here very soon. And we'll have the benefit now of the context of issue 3 to kind of wax and weave into our breakdown of issue number 2. But that's a great series. It's been a lot of fun to read so far. So looking forward to that. That'll be Wednesday in just a few days as well. So, okay, with all of that said, lastly, happy National Godzilla's Day. Sorry, I'm a big Godzilla fan. 70 years. Today's his birthday. So for those of you that celebrate, happy Godzilla Day to you. Okay, now let's get into Star Wars. Back to Star Wars. Give me your opening thoughts. We're gonna step through the trailer. I'll pull it up. We'll almost go frame by frame in some instances here. But your opening thoughts, just in what you were seeing and what you were hearing, because there's been a lot of discussion around the music choices here, in particular Major Tom. We can get into the Peter Schilling is like, I don't know, we're revivalists now. Everybody's just loving Peter Schilling. I'm like, where were you guys back in 1983 when no one was really give a crap about this song? But everybody seems to know this song now. But I'm probably old and sour there. But what were your thoughts, I guess, watching the trailer, and what were some of the first impressions that you had watching the trailer?
First impressions were very different, right? I think this is very different from anything. We kind of knew this going in, though. We knew this was going to be a different series. I don't know. I've heard some people say it's targeted at a different type of audience. I don't know if that's entirely true, but the vibe of what we're going for here is going to be much more, I hate to use the word like stylistic, but it's much more intentional of what they're trying to go. This, kids on bikes, Goonies in space, whatever, how you'd like to compare it or call it. It's very different from what we're used to in Star Wars. And so with this teaser or with this full trailer now, you kind of get this weird dichotomy of it. You have part of it that feels very Star Wars, right? So they're in space, they're in the galaxy, they're in these kind of pirate yards. That's kind of cool. There's different things. And then you have this like suburban, I don't know, the suburban America type of thing going, which feels very different and very weird. And this, like, how's the story actually playing out? So if I were to be totally honest with you, the trailer didn't really excite me a whole lot, right? Not finding anything wrong with it. That's the thing. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just wondering if it's kind of a show for me is kind of where I'm at. I'm open to it. I want to see where it goes. There's certain aspects of it that might be really interesting, but how does this fit within the broader Mando narrative, right? There's really nothing in there except for the pirates they've talked about that yet. I think that's something that I'm still curious to see if they will do anything to try to tie it to any other content to help others come into this series, if there's even any reason to, from that respect at the very least. So, but the music choice was it put you right into that vibe. But I think, again, if for what they're going for, this kind of Amblin style, it made total sense to do it this way, right? And so at the very least, it was a very unique trailer compared to what we've had in many other ways. And in a respect, that was actually kind of refreshing, though, too, because it made me take a step back and be like, okay, this is something very different than the normal things that we get from Star Wars. This is what we keep saying we want. So are you sure this is what you want? So there's going to be some soul searching for some folks about what it is and what it is, and what it is not. But that was kind of my first thing. I'm still kind of on the fence on this. I'm like 50-50 on it. Truth be told, with the trailer, this would be something I'd come to much later if we didn't have the show, just to be totally honest with you. Mm-hmm. Unless someone told me like, hey, no, there's really something here really to the show. You need to go watch it. Otherwise, I'd probably kind of put it on the back burner. But those are kind of my initial thoughts on it. But what about you? I have a feeling it's going to be a very different perspective.
It might be. It just might be. And I'll start with the music again, because honestly, the Huttese didn't even click the first time I saw the trailer, because the original song was written. Peter Schilling's a German.
He's German. Right?
He's German, right? And the original release of that song was in 1982. It was in German, and I've heard the German version many times. It didn't come out to the United States until 1983. So when I heard it at first, I was like, oh, they're playing the German version, because I'm stupid American. I don't understand. I can't distinguish German from Huttese, apparently. Right. But I heard it and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. It's weird that they're doing the German version. Why are they doing that? And as I started listening, I was like, wait a minute, this isn't even German. This is like another language. And it wasn't until I think in comments I saw on one of the posts somewhere, maybe it was Reddit or wherever, people were saying it was Huttese. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird, different. So, I mean, that was a way to kind of distinguish it and separate it from, I guess, the original version in a lot of ways, of course. But I enjoyed it. Like, it really screams 1983, 1984, 1985. I posted
really
something.
does, yeah.
I posted the, I don't know if you can get a chance to pull up the new poster they released as well a couple days ago. I said that, man, it felt like this was the poster, like it was circa 1985 all over again. And we were getting this poster, and Disney was now announcing that they were about to put this new television series on ABC, after school specials kind of thing, right? Because that's exactly what this poster vibe, the tone of the poster. You couple that with the music, Peter Schilling's Major Tom, Coming Home, which is the full title of the song. That's it. It just screams 80s music. One Up versus the CPU chimed in as well. So it looks like it's totally aimed at 80s kids. And so, yes, guilty as is charged. Like,
Even
there's
down
so
to,
much.
like, the little byline at the top, a Star Wars adventure. It looks
Yeah.
like it's straight out of what was called like the Last Starfighter. Is kind of
Right.
what this poster reminded me of.
Yeah, the font itself screams, monochrome computers from the early 80s, right, as well.
War games.
Exactly. But I mean, you look at the poster, just the way, the dynamic of the poster, the way it's been put together, compiled, the composition itself looks like something it screams, 80s style type posters. So all of that, I mean, it's got me at the heart already. Like I'm going to watch it. I was going to always watch this, of course, because of the show, but the fact that it was Star Wars and there was all this 80s vibe, this 80s tone, it's just something that certainly resonates with me. So on that note, totally in on this. It does feel like Goonies. I know we've talked about that. It felt more, this trailer felt more like Guardians of the Galaxy, which is, I had put down here on my my little name down there, Goonies of the Galaxy, because it did feel like, they were on Earth and suddenly they're out in space and there's all these magical and wonderful things that are happening in space that's so alien, no pun intended. That certainly fit that kind of mold or form that we got from the Guardians of the Galaxy for the first time when we saw that. At the same time, I've seen a lot of people debate and talk about whether or not this feels Star Wars. I think, yes, it's hard not to. Like, I guess I won't get on that soapbox here. It's hard not to watch something like this and for people to say it doesn't feel like Star Wars, because I'm like, I don't know what it is that you feel like it makes it not Star Wars. Like, I get it doesn't have stormtroopers, it doesn't have lightsabers, but all of the other stuff and some of the new stuff that we see is definitely rooted in Star Wars. And I think it's Disney's doing something very interesting here. We talked about this a few years back, maybe many years back now, that with Disney coming in, Star Wars would start to change a little bit, right? The DNA would start to I don't know, call it evolve, if you will, if that's the right term you want to use. But they are making changes, whether it's the music that they're using for the trailers, whether it's the content, whether it's showing a Star Wars suburbia, showing things that we always assumed existed out there, but never really paid attention to, right? People eating breakfast cereal, to go back to Andor, or people working in a mundane office job in Star Wars, or the life of a rebel that is so, doesn't have anything to do with Jedi, or, stuff that we're seeing now with these kids and going on an adventure. And that's just the world that Disney's has brought to us. And so it does feel different, but at the same time, there's enough here that for me, at least feels like it's rooted in Star Wars and will always be Star Wars. So I don't know if I really made a good point there or not, but it definitely feels Star Wars to me. One thing that I did notice too from the trailer, I was worried that we were going to belabor the Star Wars suburbia, and it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. It looks like that's probably going to be a background, a backdrop. This is where they came from. And the rest of the series, while we may have to be coming back because the parents look to be, I think we had theorized that they were probably in search of their kids from the original teaser trailer that was introduced at Star Wars Celebration. We kind of gathered that. Right. It does look like we may be bouncing back as part of the rescue attempt or the search attempts. But it doesn't look like that's going to be any kind of, campaign setting for this series, which I think is great, right? Because we're going to be in space. And at that point, I don't think we're going to really be talking about Suburbia, America, Star Wars much longer, at least, again, based on the trailer. So that's a good thing. And then I guess my last opening thought, the production value just seems so much higher than the Acolyte. And that's no shade on the Acolyte. I liked it. We talked about it and we were in favor. We knew the damn thing already. Get over with it. But it does feel like this production value seems higher. It seems like it's on par with like Andor at times, right? The quality, the production seems on par with Andor, whether it's the sets, the practical effects. I mean, I'm seeing some light use, I think, of the what the heck is it called?
Volume.
The volume. It does look like that is lighter in terms of what we've typically seen, especially when you compare it to like Kenobi. I hate to use that one. That's probably the extreme example, but it looks like there's a better balance there. A lot of practical effects, a lot of puppets, a lot of character puppets and mechanics and stuff. So all of that seems great because when I think about like what does Star Wars mean to me, that's the stuff that really, on top of the aesthetics of everything, the way they go about creating the Star Wars stories and the production values and stuff, that's where that really kind of fits in. So I love it. I mean, I think this looks very exciting and looks very promising. I don't know how it's going to resonate with a lot of people. When you look at the discussion, the discourse that's going on right now, even from those that have been very jaded and anti-Disney, they seem to be all very optimistic about this show. I can't tell if that's them setting us up for the old rope-a-dope so they can tell us how much it sucks, even though they may like it, or they're just waiting to hate on it, or they are genuinely and sincerely intrigued by it. That's probably the word. Of more than anything, this show is probably intriguing because it is so different and it's diverse in what they're trying to present and how they're presenting it than most of what we've got from Star Wars. It will be interesting to see what the fallout's going to be. And of course, a lot of things play into that. The quality of the actors is going to play into it, the quality of the writing, whether the story is actually any good. We'll all have, factors into whether or not people like it. But so far, it does feel like people are going into this optimistic, what's the word I'm looking for? Cautiously optimistic right. with it. I think they're probably gaining favor from Filoni and Jon Favreau as well, right? Because those two guys are behind it in some way, in a large way, a lot of it. They are getting kind of in my opinion, I think they're getting a fair pass, a free pass from a lot of the people that have traditionally hated Disney Star Wars. So, it's probably jaded and it's probably shaded in that regard. But so far, it seems like everyone seems to be at least intrigued about this series.
Yeah, man. I don't know how you couldn't at least be interested, if you're a hardcore Star Wars fan, at least being interested to see where this goes and understanding it. Because we haven't had a series like this where it's really centered around just kid actors, like it being kind of the primary protagonists in this kind of way. Maybe since the Ewok movies or something. I don't know if we've had it like this outside of animation, right? Where
right, animation would be you're right. Live action, no, you're spot on. It would be the old Ewok movies,
right? And the quality of the acting from the trailer, again, very limited body of work, is actually quite encouraging and quite impressive. And it sounds like there might be some really good chemistry between the kid actors, and we'll have to see how Jude Law's character plays into some of the stuff too. His parts were a little tough to figure out how they really fit in, where that character was. I think they've kind of missed, or maybe there's something that's going to come later with how they're going to introduce Jawed into all of this a little bit smoother and better. Right now, it's been a little bit herky jerky, hit and miss, I think. But I think we should give these kids the benefit of the doubt of like saying, okay, let's not grill this show like it's a bunch of adults. Let's not ruin these kids' futures either at the same time. So I'm happy to hear that people are at least, taking a step back and maybe waiting to see where this goes, and see how it fits. But I mean, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with the show. Like you said, production value seems really high. It seems like they got there's a story kind of playing here, a totally different vibe. So, let's see if this has been the different thing that we've been kind of wanting, and see if it just cleanses the palate. And is it going to be Return of the Jedi or Empire Strikes Back or something? No, but it's also not trying to be anything close to that type of thing. So yeah, let's kind of see where this goes. I'm just curious if it's supposed to fit anywhere or not. If it's supposed to be more standalone, I wish they'd kind of tell me that before touting the Mandalorian stuff in the credits, And I know they're just trying to get people like credibility wise to chime in, but I want to make sure if it's not really connected to that stuff, then don't tell me it really is connected, so I can kind of set my expectations right too.
Yeah, and I would say again, we don't have any kind of this is all speculation.
Inside scoop.
Yeah. We don't have any inside information on this, but based on when this was announced, the way it was announced, the way they've talked about it, and they haven't really said a whole lot yet, although we're in for the whole press junket, media blitz to start here very soon. So this will probably get teased out a little bit more. I always went into this show thinking that, yes, on the surface, it's probably standalone. It's kind of aimed towards kids, but I mean, come on, it's Dave Filoni. Right. And it's Jon Favreau, and they've got this whole universe that they're playing with. They are going to put something into this. I could be completely wrong, but I doubt that I am. It may not be as deep as people want it to be or hoping that it could be, but it definitely is going to link to other things. And as we go through the trailer, there's probably things in here that I think they may be laying some seeds for. They could be very loose references. They could be Easter eggs at best, but there could be other things that are more substantial, more material that continue to be explored in whatever Mando and Grogu becomes, or whatever whatever happens with Thrawn coming back, right? A lot of these threads that are out there from these different series, they could still tie to this. Again, I don't think it's going to be a heavy link. I don't think it's going to be weighted and we're going to go back as this is kind of like this, hub of a series that,
Right.
we're all going to be talking about 20 years from now kind of thing. But I think it will be substantial. I don't see them going in and just saying, you know what, let's just fart around and just make a fun Star Wars show. I mean, I think that's what they've done. Hopefully that's what they've done. But I think there is a double intent there to do more than that and really tie it into the lore and the canon and whatever is to come in the years following. So going to the comments just really quick. Alex said, I dug it. I hope it doesn't tie into anything, just does its own story. So just almost the inverse of what we just talked about right now.
Well, I like what you said though. It can be nestled and embedded in it, but it doesn't have to really get heavy into it. I think, which would probably satisfy, because I think I'm kind of in a place like Alex is. Of like, I kind of want this to be on its own, but let me know that it's in the mix of things.
Yeah,
but it doesn't
yeah.
necessarily have to be a critical path for a lot of things.
Right. Right.
I have to shoehorn 4 kids in Jude Law's character and all this stuff now.
Yeah. Yeah. It should complement. It's probably going to complement anything more than actually be,
Right.
like you said, the mainstay of what we're going to get into here later.
Right.
Rob says, I remember being a kid and talking about going to Star Wars Galaxy with my friends. This makes me think about those conversations.
Yeah, this is actually, when I saw this in the comments, I was like, this is really cool, because you're right. This is one of those gateways of like, how would you actually do it? Well, here's your story of what you probably thought of, as you were a kid.
Yeah.
This is going to be something along those lines. So that's kind of really cool. Thanks for sharing that, Rob.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Okay, well, let's get into our breakdown. And we open here immediately. We open with Wim and Fern. And she has this comment. She says, what are you in for? Now, the one thing I liked about this, and I hadn't really kind of put her here just yet, but look at all like her body language. The way she sits down, throws her arm over the thing, and then later on, the way she's looking at him and going, yeah, kid, kind of thing. She almost comes across as kind of being, the big cheese, or maybe even I wouldn't necessarily call her a troublemaker, but she does seem like she's got a slight attitude to her, a little edgy, more edginess than I was expecting, because we hadn't really seen much from her other than the teaser that we saw a couple months ago. And then, of course, the footage from D23, from D23 had some too as well, but
Right.
From Star Wars Celebration. But they are visiting this proctor's office as well, which they show here in just a second. I want to come back to this in a minute here, but you can see it when the dad walks in. We had talked about in the teaser, there was, and now in retrospect, especially since we're seeing it here, it feels like there is something special about whatever it is they were testing to do, right? We didn't get into it too much. We saw them, a bunch of kids, they were all sitting at desks. There was these droids there were proctor droids that were kind of administering the test, if you will. But I don't know that we really got into it that much, because I didn't think much of it now. But now when I see this, that there is a proctor's office, and that maybe these guys, I'm assuming they were suspected of cheating, or they've done something wrong. They're almost at the principal's office in this opening scene. It did make me start to wonder, like, what is it that they could possibly be tested for? Like, what are they testing for at this point? And why? Now I've got questions about why do they have, I think we asked the question, why do they have so many kids in that room testing that way? But it's almost like an entry program, or, maybe they're being recruited into the New Republic, or they're going to be slotted into positions that the New Republic needs to fill now that they've got this vacuum called, the Empire gone or something. But I haven't really put a lot of thought into this, but I just thought it was interesting that seems to be, at least now, more emphasis on this whole test scene exam, more than we got from the teaser.
Yeah, and there's some inconsistencies here with some of that, of like, did they tie that way? Because Wim here looks like he's dirty on the face. His outfit is quite disheveled, not quite the same. So it kind of feels like he's in trouble. At least the trailer kind of makes it shift that way. We also know that Fern's mom is a teacher, and maybe she's the proctor, principal type of person. Maybe that's just how they classify some of it too. And I'm wondering if that's why she's kind of like owning this, right? She's just out there, and why she's got the different patches. So she's modified the school uniform a little bit as kind of a bad girl, because she kind of owns the place, if you will. because you know who my mom is type of thing. So I'm wondering if there's something there too of the way she has this swagger is just because she knows the person in power. Of course, we know that Wim's dad and her mom seem to know each other quite well, or at least they do. They at least interact throughout the trailer in some capacity later on. But yeah, I'm kind of curious if the testing room is anything more than just a school, if there's something unique about any of that, because what does that do to serve you on the rest of the adventure? I don't know. But if he's doing something and in a little bit of trouble, that would get Fern's attention to where she would be actually interested because she's out there looking for adventure. It seems like that. And she's kind of got this Batgirl vibe. But actually, I was thinking, I was like, well, this completely throws out the whole wedge thing, theory from way back when. And the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what? Actually, no. This might actually empower that comment quite a bit more of knowing who her mom is.
Dak.
Dak. Sorry, not
Dak,
wedge,
yeah.
but Dak. Yes,
Yeah.
I misspoke. But kind of that hero of the rebellion type of vibe going on. But so I'm kind of curious if any of that's working into her attitude.
Yeah, the jacket seems to be independent of her outfit. Like you can see her school uniform underneath, and we see there's other shots from the other trailers. That's not their uniform. That jacket definitely is not school issued. I can't tell. Wim doesn't even seem to be wearing a school uniform. So I don't know the dynamics here, or even whether it matters. I suspect, to go back to your question about the dirt on his face, comes from the shot here that we see him when he's rolling down the hill. Which, I don't know. I assume this was like, okay, when he was searching for or he comes across and stumbles across the ship, and which could be the case, right? He could have found this and then goes to school immediately after, and it's there that he starts talking about, and then they come back to it afterwards, right? So I don't think that's necessarily needs to go in that order, but I suspect that's why he's all disheveled the way he is.
Yeah, and it kind of looks like he's wearing the same clothes. If you go back to where he's sitting in the chairs, he has this kind of they look like the same clothes. Yeah, you're right. Those are probably tied. Yeah, I like that. He probably finds it during school hours, wandering off where it's supposed to be, and then they go back after hours to check it out.
Yeah, and I would suspect that, after seeing that, or seeing that there's some kind of a ship, or I forget now what it was he thought it was. He thought it was a Jedi temple, right? Because he's thinking about Jedi. Yeah. He's likely at school, and now is just, that's all, it's consumed him. That's probably all he can think of, right? And so, maybe he didn't cheat on the test, or maybe he was forced to cheat because he realized he'd spent so much time not doing the test that he just went and looked at somebody else's answers. And that's why his dad, Wendo, comes in later and is like, this is inappropriate, right? You can't be doing this kind of thing. Again, just pure speculation based on what we're seeing, but I would imagine he's going to be ahead in the clouds all day long after having seen what he suspects to be a Jedi temple here. We can see him in the next shots here where he's right. And he's almost daydreaming. I love the way they cut here. He's kind of drifting off, and then suddenly maybe this is the flashback of sorts, but that's when his dad walks in and says, this is unacceptable. Do you understand? And that's where we get the sign in the back there where it says Proctor's office. And we see some of the Proctor droids that showed up in the teaser trailer, and we kind of see them in a couple more instances here in this trailer as well.
Right.
Going back to the little sequence here with Fern and KB. Let me see if I can rewind this here. This just seems to be more of that kind of opening shot. I'd imagine this is going to be at the very beginning when we're getting introduced to the characters. We get to see the edginess here clearly of her character. And we kind of labeled her as being a pilot of sorts because of some of the turns and things she was making. But this seems like a pretty gutsy move to drive in between two buses the way she does. She's almost got a smirk on her face. You can kind of see it right here. Maybe you can't because the controls are there. Let me move the controls all the way.
Yeah, you can kind of see it though.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, she's got that look in her eye, right? And so the Dak theory is interesting. It'd be great if it was, and that's all it was. But maybe they're playing into that a little bit more, where she's got some kind of a pilot-ish background, or it's in her blood, so to speak. So, but let's move on and talk about. We get the From Lucasfilm right after this, and at that point, this is where we get Fern and KB who show up. I guess I'm assuming that next day after they show up, she's got a shovel. They're ready to go. They want to get to the bottom of literally whatever it is that Wim has told them. I guess it's a Jedi temple. I'm assuming that's exactly what they think this is at this point. But this was interesting that they kept putting their ear up to this and listening. Right. And there's a voiceover here that says, "What do you think?" So, any thoughts as to what it is they hear, what they're thinking? Was it something in the trailer that we missed?
There's got to be some sort of like humming or something coming from it. I mean, there's got to be something that would all be interesting. You look at Fern's face, like she's like almost like surprised to hear something as she kind of looks around. So like when she puts her heads up to it. So I'm kind of wondering if there's got to be something coming from it as they've unearthed this thing, that there's some noise or hum or just rattling around that's having from whatever's in this vessel,
Yeah. It looks like that is a window too. You can kind of see that there's almost, oh, that's a shadow. I thought it was a light coming out of it, but it's not. Yeah, I don't know. It's either a thumping noise or maybe it's maybe it's SM-33, the droid. Maybe he's malfunctioning or is repeating something. It could be some kind of a homing beacon. Maybe if this thing did crash, back during the days of the Old Republic, which got me so freaking excited, by the way. But if this thing did crash back then, oh, whoa, I didn't mean to do that. Then maybe that homing device or that homing beacon is going off and they can hear it in there as well. Let's see. Let me move on to, there's a next line here where it says, it comes, what is the next line? Oh, this is where the chamber opens up, right? We talked about this is from the teaser, so we get to see that chamber or the hatch open up.
Yeah, no, I'm curious how they actually open this thing, though.
Yeah, well,
it's not explained yet, but yeah,
it's not explained. I mean, there's some controls there down there at the bottom, so maybe it looks like they've done some digging too.
Oh, maybe so. Yeah.
Now that you see that, like the way it looked from here, it was here to where it's here, or maybe that digging is part of it. Like you can see, it's almost dug out around the side. That might have been her with her shovel already.
Yeah, maybe so.
But they might have exposed some kind of a control panel of sorts. And these are shots that we've seen already. We get this comes a series from all those great people. This is all footage that we saw before. We get to see Wim walking around inside the ship. Are those droids upside down?
I thought that too. I really don't know.
Are they just chairs?
I don't know, but why would they be upside down? Oh, the whole ship might be upside down. So maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
If you look at the panels on the right, they do kind of look like they might be upside down.
So yeah, interesting. That'd be really cool if they did come into this thing and it's their right side up. But yeah. But yeah, they look like chairs at first, and I was like, well, I don't know. Those kind of look like droids, but maybe not. They look just like old Republic chairs. Let's just call it that.
Here he is with your SWOTOR headset, about to push the big green button you're not supposed to push.
Yeah, it looks not exactly, but yeah, it could pass as a SWOTOR headset. And if you know, you know. But yeah, he presses the green button, and this is what allegedly fires the Onyx cinder out into space. We get to see his dad, which I'm assuming this is all part of it. So his dad must have gotten wind, and there's obviously been some time that has passed now. It's darker here. This is very ET. Oh my gosh! If in the forest, a ship taking off, the way the big engines.
Yeah, the swirling skies. The
swirling skies. I mean, look at that shot right there. I mean, that might as well be.
Lighting of this is really cool, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's that. We talked about the ship itself too. Remember we broke down the teaser and we said when it jumped into hyperspace, it left like the little ashes, the cinders, ashes and stuff. Yeah, we see more of it here.
Yeah, this has just got to be a characteristic of the ship.
Yeah. We were speculating whether or not that was intentional or not, but after this, I'm like, okay, this thing just leaves these embers flying around when it's done.
Right. It's kind of cool. They look like fireflies.
Yeah. Let's see. Only on Disney Plus, they head out into space. This is where what was it? This is where they're screaming, "What did you do?" And this is where I guess it was Neil. I think it was that was asking a lot of questions here, but they do all look very frightened about what's happening. There's Neil there.
Right. We don't really get any dialogue from KB throughout this, who is Fern's best friend. So we have Fern and KB are best friends, and then Neil and Wim are kind of best friends. So it doesn't seem like these two groups cross-pollinate very often. So some of the banter, I think, will be fun and interesting, and seeing where that overall group dynamic kind of evolves to as well.
Yeah, he says, we're lost, really lost, and it's Neil talking. That's a line there. There was this here, and this is obviously not in order because SM-33 is already live and active. You can see him there. Now, interesting enough, his eye, we've only seen him with his eye like this, where it's missing. That left eye is missing. Later on, he's got like some kind of a creature living in his eye.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to explain that, but if there is some meaning behind it, that's the stuff that I really love.
Probably burrowed into his eye socket while he was deactivated for a millennia or something like that.
Yeah. So he's basically someone's home, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Something nested in his eyeball.
That's really cool. I mean, I'm being serious. So that would be really neat because it's stuff like that just makes you appreciate the level at which they go through.
Yeah.
To tell these stories.
Here we are, kind of more traditional Star Wars, right? This is the pirate yard. I believe we saw in the teaser trailer as well.
Yeah,
what we believe is probably the pirate yard.
Exactly. I think after this trailer, that pretty much confirmed it for me. Now, whether it's just, I think we called it kind of like a pirate haven, pirate cove, some place where they all kind of come together, the scum and villainy of whatever this little sector of the galaxy is.
Right.
Or is it part of Vane's group, right? That whole pirate, what was the pirate Gorshan? What was his name?
Yeah.
For Mandalorian.
Gorshan. Yeah.
Because I think we did talk about he was going to make an appearance in this, right? Because I think this takes place, or some of this takes place before we get to his demise in The Mandalorian. So we may get to see him here, but I assume this is either his domain, or it's just kind of like where these pirates all come together.
Yeah, this is like Guardians of the Galaxy was such a great example before. This is like, was it like Null Space or whatever it was, where all of the pirates meet up? This is very much
Nowhere,
like,
I think is what it's called.
Oh, Nowhere. Yeah, there you go. This is very much like Nowhere in Guardians of the Galaxy. Like visually, a lot of similarities here in design.
Someone had said, so was it Katui? Was Hondo Anaka's ship? I didn't see this, and I have not had a chance to look for it, but someone said it's in here. And
well, now you're just trying to get me more excited for the show.
That's part of it too. I need to go back and I'm sorry, I know this is bad because we've had like 2 days to prep, but trust me, it's been very busy and different. But someone took a screenshot of it and I was like, is that really it? It kind of looks like it. I'm not going to lie. It did. I'll have to go back and look.
Is this the Millennium Falcon and Revenge of the Sith all over again?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Did a ship that no one usually cares about with Hondo's ship.
Yeah, Hondo's ship. But I think honestly, like that plus
it makes sense.
Yeah. And we'll get into more of the Hondo Anaka maybe references, tie-ins here in just a little bit. But let's see. So we get to see the Onyx Cinder arriving at the spaceport here. I don't know why my mouse keeps doing that. I'm so sorry about that. It's already done it 3 times.
This is great. Like the kids go into this cantina and they're getting served. You can just kind of see their wide eye, right? So that's the first exposure to anything outside of their own little world, outside of their planet. We see Wim fumbling with actual old Republic credits, not just the Republic, but old Republic credits that would be kind of legit, but just kind of lost as to what to do, how to function, how to operate in this environment. All of these people looking at them, potentially to take advantage of them. So this is really well done. I mean, this is where you can kind of feel that, that surprise element of like, what do they do here? And what kind of trouble are they stepping into? They have zero idea of.
How would you feel? So because these are old Republic credits, the idea that the Onyx Cinder dates back to the old Republic times, I don't think is far-fetched at this point.
Right.
SM33 his design specifically I think I mentioned this when we broke down the teaser. His design does look like old Republic designs for some of the droids. So, timeline wise, I think that'd be really great. Now, how they define that era and how far back it goes, it will be interesting to see. But it would be cool that for this Onyx Cinder to have been around back then, and then tie that in with the pirates and the treasure. You think of like Willie's treasure from the Goonies, right? This thing of legend that people have been after, and maybe it's the ship itself. Maybe the ship has treasure on it, or suspected to have treasure on it. Or maybe it has coordinates that have been stored there and left there and everybody knows that if they ever found the ship, they could find the coordinates to some magical place with a lot of treasure. Maybe it's the very last place that we see in this trailer. We'll get to that here in a little bit. But I love this idea that this really did date back to the Old Republic. And then I started thinking, well, that'd be kind of cool because, much like the Millennium Falcon made an appearance in the prequel trilogy, maybe whenever we get around to the Old Republic era, it would be a nice little cameo, or maybe this ship could play another important role as a character like the Millennium Falcon did in whatever that series, whether it's television or movies. Maybe we see the Onyx Cinder back there during its glory days with some of the people or things that are mentioned in this, right? This is where I'm talking about. Like, this show doesn't necessarily have to be the center point for it, but it could have little Easter eggs and kind of be a small hub for some of those direct connections to other series and shows.
Yeah, I like anything that we can connect back to the really distant past. And I think it produces an interesting element here. Because again, we don't really, the idea of treasure is visually on screen, but like, where's the idea of treasure coming through in the dialogue and the actual story element? Is it still a bit of a mystery? Like, where where that connection is being made. I mean, it seems obvious, right, what they showed us, but there's not a whole lot. There's nothing really else there that's telling us, like, how did they find out that there's a treasure in the first place? How does Jude Law get excited about this? Or how does, Jode? There's a lot of questions still that didn't really have any kind of answer. And so there's some confusion there for me about how we get on this path. But that we have artifacts like these old credits that could be worth a small fortune, though, you could definitely see why this would pique interest of many a pirate in this place.
Yeah.
And what else are these kids sitting on that they have no idea because they're clueless about, right? So enter anyone that's willing to kind of find a way to befriend them in some kind of way to take advantage of them.
I'm looking at this logo too. Like, that's not typically a logo that was used, at least from Legends. That's right. It looks like the Imperial logo, but it's not. And there's reasons why the Imperial logo was eventually used by the Empire, and it dates back to the Old Republic. We're not going to get into all that, but the logo does look like an older version of the Imperial logo. But I just want to make clear this particular logo has not been used in the Old Republic Legends, so
right. Yeah,
they could be doing something different.
Does appear to be somewhat new. Yeah.
But all right, we got Jawas, the scourge of the galaxy, stinky little guys there. Some more aliens.
Yellow-eyed Jawas. Yeah.
Yeah, yellow-eyed Jawas. Very different from the other ones. I like that guy in the background. He's got the big bug eyes and he's got his mouth. He's got his frown. You can't really make it out on the screen that we got now. When you look at it, his mouth is like an upside down frown or upside down smile. He's frowning. Very creepy looking.
Yeah, a lot of great characters here throughout this cantina, though.
Yeah.
We get our first appearance here of Jod as well.
Yep, Jod's there. I mean, he's obviously got the interest and attention of a lot of people because he's been flashing these credits, and not everybody's walking around with Old Republic credits, and no one. And this guy, the bartender, who regurgitates all this crap into his bowl, calls him out for it. He causes some kind of distraction here. You can see Vane too, which they haven't really played up much.
He's talking to Wim too. Like, he looks like he's actually facing him, and he's doing this as a distraction because Neil's to Wim's right, Vane's to his left, and they all kind of react. So it must be a ploy to get out of kind of a troublesome place here.
Yeah. But we definitely get to see more of him, and you can see everybody, they're closing their eyes because they've the heat and whatever else, and the kids are running off at this point. But yeah, the good point.
What did they put in that bowl that made it so flammable? Good Lord.
I don't know, whiskey or something.
These are children.
Let's see. We get Jod, who, and now I guess he's already sided with the kids. And this is, when we get to hear Jude Law's character start talking, you do get a sense that he is kind of looking out for himself, has his own best interests in mind. Maybe it's the treasure, maybe it's the ship, maybe it's both. He's been on the press junket in the short interviews that he's done. I think we've talked about this, but he's going out and saying that he is a Jedi. I don't know how much to believe him, or he's speaking from the character's perspective, right? I'm not 100% sure that he exactly is a Jedi, and I think that's part of the intrigue and mystery of the show. But nonetheless, it does sound like he has taken an interest in these kids and helping them get off the planet, maybe get home. But he says, hey, let's work out a deal, right?
Right.
He says, I'll get you home. We'll make a partnership. So I think in return for getting them home, they're going to have to give over the ship, give over some cut of whatever bounty it is or whatever booty they find. But I don't know. He's based on what Jude Law has said about his character. It does feel like you're not really sure exactly what side this guy is on. At least from the start, I assume he will have a heart of gold, no pun intended, and move to the good side later.
Yeah, probably later on. But yeah, at this point in the trailer, they're definitely setting him up to be the scoundrel, the swindler, the one you can't really trust, but they don't have a better option to trust. So he looks like a friendly face that's helped before. So they go with the path of least resistance, right?
Mm-hmm. You can see him pointing to the ship. I couldn't tell. Is that the Onyx Cinder?
I don't know. And this seems like in a totally different place because you can see it's very light outside. There's clouds. This almost seems like it's the end of the series almost because he doesn't seem as disheveled too and very friendly. So an interesting shot here that does not seem to be related to the other ones, but serving a similar purpose.
Yeah, and I think the engines, if you can see them in the back, on the right-hand side all the way to the back, those look like the Onyx Cinder engines, right? They're very distinct.
Yeah, they said vertically. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe it is the ship, but I think you're right. I don't know that this is the exact same spot. I think this might be what we see a little bit later, which is kind of, I'm calling it, a hotel, a resort, a casino, whatever that nice looking place is. It could be part of that. So,
yeah.
But it does look, he's motioning somebody to get on board almost, right?
Yep.
Or, welcome aboard kind of thing.
Yeah. But yeah, entirely too much sunlight in that place.
Yeah, for sure. A couple of quick shots here of the kids kind of running through. I'm not sure what KB's doing. She's just smacking this, what looks like an engine or, I don't know, some computer. She's almost got like a mining pick of sorts that she hits it with.
Yeah, she heard it worked for the Millennium Falcon with Han Solo. Just
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's how they get it started. They just give it an old, hammer to it.
That's right.
This is the water tube scene, which again was very Goonies. It was a very quick shot. We got more of it in the teaser, but this is the scene here that we got in the teaser where they're kind of coming down the water slide, which you can barely make out there in that one. Okay, more button pressing here. Looks like Jod's now on board because he's got the fingerless gloves. Right. Looks like he's getting the engine primed. They're ready to go. And this is where he looks over to Neil and says, I need you to take control. Need you to take the controls. And this seems like it's something, he looks very distraught, like it's an emergency. So I don't know if they're under fire, they're trying to get away from other groups or what. But I did love this line about Neil. Neil, like, really, of all people, you're going to go with that guy to do it? And Neil's response is like, okay, sure, I'll do it. By the way, we mentioned this. Alex had asked about whether or not this was a Max Rebo, the Autolins. It's not. I think Leland Shee confirmed it officially. Right. So it is a new species and not the Autolins that we were talking about.
Right. But they haven't named the species though, right?
No, in fact, I think it's called Neil species right now. It's right. Literally what it's called. So, which is what they usually do. They'll put a placeholder with the name until they get the official name. And I don't know if this is indicative of Neil's flying ability, but whatever reason, the Onyx Cinder is like, almost hitting the surface of that moon and pulls up very quickly. And then we get this whole thing of the ship blasting off. What looks to be that same moon, could be a different shot. Not really sure, but and maybe Neil's not even driving at this point. But that lifts off into space. We get Jod walking out of the ship. I assume this is when they first land on this casino resort place. This looks like the same background, kind of the light, same as the lighting that we saw just a little while ago. He does look very concerned. They're all kind of staring at somebody off to their left out in front of them. Maybe it's Lando. You got a lot of nerve coming back here.
Right. Yeah. And again, you're kind of wondering if Fern's really totally trusting Jod at this point too. Cause of all of them, she seems like she'd be the one that would be the most outspoken of like, we don't even know this guy. We're putting a lot of faith and trust in him.
Yeah. Echoes of Padme.
Yeah.
This is a cool shot. I think this is tied to the explosion later on. Yeah. That does look to be that same tunnel.
Yeah. These are pirates that are kind of cabling to the side of a ship or something like that.
Yeah. I think so I thought this was Jod and the two kids. My theory, and again, this is just based on this trailer alone, is it looks like the Onyx Cinder has been boarded. And actually, let me take that back. In the teaser trailer, remember there was that tunnel they were showing coming out to connect, and then when the hatch opened up, the kids were standing there ready to kind of board wherever they were going.
Right.
I don't know where this is at, but it does feel like once that connection's made, at some point they decide they need to blow this up and then get back to the Onyx Cinder. So I would assume the ship on the left-hand side that we're seeing here is, or ship or spaceport, whatever it is not the Onyx Cinder. I'm assuming that's Jod, maybe two of the kids. It looks like Wim and KB based on what you can see very blurry in the helmets. And it looks like they're using these grappling hooks to pull themselves back over to the Onyx Cinder after they broke the connection to the way they're connected.
Okay. I went straight to like, why would they have suits fitted for kids? I thought they were pirates.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe so.
That looks like Wim on the left-hand side. I can't make out who is on the right-hand side though.
Yeah, you might be right. That does kind of look like Wim.
But it's hard to tell. We get a crew of murderous pirates is coming. That's coming from Jod. And then we cut over to Jaleel White, who is a character by the name of Gunter now.
Right.
So we get to see his character there. Oh, hey, Only Vader's Girl's here. He says, hey guys, hey, welcome. Only Vader's Girl. Oh, it used to be just Vader's Girl, but I guess she's exclusive now. More exclusive. These other characters got names. I don't know if you caught that. I think it was Entertainment Weekly did something not too long ago where they called out the names. I don't remember the names. We're not going to get into them, but
yeah, but not all of these were in that article. They were a different set of people. So
yeah, like Brutus and some other ones as well.
Yeah, they were others. Yeah, we did this with Fred on Waystation, but yeah, some of these characters I don't think were part of that. So Yeah, some more new characters. But again, lots of pirates in this place, so not surprising.
Do you think he's going to do Did I Do That? Do you think he'll say it? Did I do that?
I hope he does not.
No, I'm kidding. That's terrible. They shouldn't do that.
They will.
We saw this shot as well in the teaser. This is where the pirates are coming out of the hatch. They're getting shot at. I'm not sure who's doing the shooting. I think maybe we got a sense of it was probably the kids, or maybe it was Jod from the teaser. I forget now. Probably should have watched that ahead of this one. Okay, so here's Jod really upset. I think this is where he's talking about there's pirates that are coming here. Again, this does look like that resort casino look in the background there. It looks very fancy. There's a lot of opulence here.
Yep. Yeah, again, unclear what would be changing his perspective like in this trailer. Again, we're not getting enough about Jod to really understand why he would be changing his mind so fast. But again, maybe a lot's happening to this point.
Yeah.
Or maybe maybe he's just concerned about his own skin. Hey, there's a lot of pirates coming. You need to do something because we are exposed.
My skin's on the line.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of this shot.
I don't know. This looks like they're like in a World War II movie all of a sudden.
She definitely I guess that I'm assuming it doesn't exactly look like here, but it could just be the resolution of this trailer. If that is Fern.
I think that is Fern wearing a helmet.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that is a World War II ally helmet that was used, particularly the Americans.
Yeah. And they've all got, I guess, some sort of weapons. I guess these are guns that Wim and Neil are holding, and I'm not sure what the girls are holding, but yeah, this is an interesting shot. There's a lot of stuff going on around him.
It looks like a deleted scene from like Saving Private Ryan.
It really does. Like the whole color palette.
The color palette, yeah.
It's like a flashback back to a war movie. Yeah.
And they look to be taking a stance, right? Like something's coming. They've got like, I don't know, it looks like civilians, innocent bystanders out there in the background as well.
Right.
Yeah, don't know. This was kind of glorious. We got to see SM-33 just beat the snot out of whatever this thing is here. It looks like that bar guy, maybe not. Is it the same scene?
It's, yeah, that
is not, this alien right here is not the same as this alien.
Well, it looked like the alien that was in the forefront of that one shot from the cantina, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. This one does right here.
Yeah.
He's almost got like a horse head. I don't know. Whatever the case is, he's beaten up this droid. The more important thing is this shot right here. This is where that creature comes out of his left eyeball there.
So weird.
And it's got like whiskers and it's talking. It's got like 4 eyes. Its mouth is open.
It's a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah. I do like your theory. That'd be really cool if that thing just made it its home and now it just lives there permanently. So, but that was very cool. I don't know what the heck that is. He punches just some droid there with feathers.
It's like the droid version of a parrot in a Pirate Bay.
Maybe.
And then
okay,
we are back to suburbia.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
here we are in
Santa
Barbara, California, circa 1955.
Right.
I think we had seen this shot already. It was kind of a shot that we got from the teaser. We're missing because you can see Wim down there on the left-hand side. What we don't see is what was the creature that was walking the dog, and one came out to get the paper and all that. It was in the teaser.
Oh, like the Ithorian?
Yeah, it was an Ithorian. That's right.
Oh.
That's right. But I noticed too that spire. You can see it in the background here, off to the left-hand side.
Yeah,
that pops up a little bit later when we see his Wim's dad here in just a minute. This is Farah. So this is Fern's mom. She's saying something's wrong. There's Window, which is Wim's dad, saying they're not just going to turn up. We need to find them. I think we deducted as much from the Celebration exclusive footage, right? That they were in search of it. Based on some of the lines that they were saying, it did definitely sound like they were going to put together their own little group of, search party, if you will, to go look for the kids. So this introduces the parent element, which, to be fair, the Goonie parents did that as well. They eventually went after their kids after a long time. This is the weird part now.
It almost seems like they're being watched, right?
Yeah. Well, we talked about this in the teaser, that, what was going on here, because he was working. It seemed like he was working in secrecy. And now at this shot here where he looks very distraught, like I don't know, maybe he's trying to get information about the kids or the program or information about the Onyx Cinder. I don't know what he's looking for, but whatever it is, I would assume it's to find his kids and the kids But why he has to do this in secrecy, and why is he doing it under this, watchful eye of this, Sentry droid, this, New Republic droid? I'm assuming.
Well, and like you said, if this is a testing center for some reason, maybe he's digging deeper into what they're actually doing and is not not liking what he's finding as he's just trying to find information and stumbles over something. But again, this is the kind of how does this connect with trying to find the kids with the center and things like that is not quite clear quite yet. So this is going to be one that we're going to have to see the show where we maybe get some more trailers to understand, is there some other subplot going on here that's back home versus where the kids are at?
Do you think
this also concerns me though, that we're going to be bouncing back and forth maybe more often than we initially thought, which would be curious to see if this is a story element that we enjoy or if it feels like it's dragging down the rest of the adventure, right?
Yeah, so I think if they're doing it from a place of, we want our kids and we love them and miss them, it's probably okay. But if we get weighted down in like bureaucracy and stuff like that, I'm like, oh, it's going to kill the vibe, I think, immediately.
Yeah, it has the potential to do that. So we'll have to see how that plays out. If there's anything to any of that, or if it stays relatively simple and straightforward. I would like an interesting subplot.
Sure.
As long as it's not in the way and he's all kind of serving a similar purpose here. I'd hate for that to be the thing that's driving the New Republic narrative that we see in Mando and the other content, right?
Yeah. That's the needle I was talking about there on the left-hand side.
Yeah, there you go.
So these are the droids that we saw back in the teaser. They're out searching for the kids, which I'm starting to think now that the kids are gone, is the New Republic looking for the kids in their best interest, for their own interest, not so much for the safety of the kids,
Right.
But, maybe that goes back to the testing again, the proctor tests or whatever they're being proctored for. Wim looking around. I'm trying to remember what this is where Neil says, we're not alone down here. Cute little, jumper there, the little overalls that he's got going on.
Yeah, not sure what kind of ruins this is. It feels like a different location than what we've seen previously.
Yeah, especially right here where we get this tentacle, I think, come out. Yeah, can't tell if that's alive or dead, but it looks alive.
Some sort of creature, that's trying to attack them. Yeah,
you can see it moving in the background too. I figure this is part of its long tentacles, and we get more of it here in just a second. Right there, it looks like it's got two big bulging eyes, some whiskers. It almost looks like Mr. Snuffleupagus, if you know who that is, just in shadow.
That will give me nightmares tonight. Thank you.
Yep. You're welcome. But yeah, definitely look to be in some kind of ancient ruins. I don't think this is on their home planet. Definitely doesn't look like it's part of the spaceport area. So this just could be some side quest adventure that they're on, or some pit stop they made, or
it could be whatever if there's a quest to find a treasure, right? This could be part of the trials of the treasure type of thing, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's probably more accurate. I was thinking this may tie into, just aesthetically, it may tie into that final shot of them walking into the treasure chamber, right? This is, they have to go through all of this before they get to that. But yeah, kind of creepy, kind of gross. Here's that resort casino Canto Bite thing place. Looks really cool.
It does. And we have X-Wings flying around too, which is so clearly New Republic type of thing. Actually, this kind of reminds me a little bit of like Solo Star Wars Story, like Dryden Voss and all of that.
Yeah.
But we've got these pirates down here, though, watching the X-Wings circling. I don't know if there's anything to tie to that, of whether they're looking for them or not, but the way that they're kind of circling around, and we see Jaleel White,
Gunter
spinning around, looking around. It almost seems like they are concerned that they've been found or in trouble, like the pirates.
Yeah. The X-Wing, you can see it right here.
Oh, it's firing.
It's shooting. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't catch that before.
So it's firing on something. So there is a battle going on. These guys, that looks like a Quarren right there, by the way, next to Gunter. Watch right there. You can see its tentacles.
Yep.
And I'm trying to think, I think we saw a Quarren in one of the teasers or in some of the other footage as well. So it's probably likely that one. But we can't see what the X-Wings are shooting, what they're chasing. I don't think it's that ship right now up there that they pass by. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But if they're not shooting that, you can see no, that's another X-Wing. No, you can't really tell. But they are opening fire on something. Maybe it is that ship right there.
Kind of looks like it's the ship, yeah.
Yeah. So looking at that ship then. So maybe that's parked, hovering, waiting to pick Gunter up. I don't see Gunter on the ground or that Quarren.
Yeah, these shots are stitched kind of oddly.
All right. Well, there is a battle going on. At least we know that they're shooting something, or maybe they're just warning shots. Who knows? There's a line in here where SM33 starts talking over a couple of these shots here. It says, "Be warned of booby traps, pirates, and mountains where none dare go." This is a shot of Jod pulling out that dagger. I think we talked about, how did we get the name Skeleton Crew? Very likely the crew are all skeletons. Right. And so that's what they decide to call, the ship. But you can see one of them here. It looks like a skeleton of sorts with a dagger through. So it looks like there have been some kind of a battle at some point as well. But
this is probably like my favorite single shot from the whole trailer.
Really?
Him pull it out. I just love the aesthetic of it. It's just very much in all of the pirate type of movies, Pirates of the Caribbean and Goonies, that type of thing. It's just, it kind of captured it, perfectly with a Star Wars, space age kind of vibe.
What about, you think he's going to brandish that sword at some point? Oh, that dagger?
That's not a knife. That's a knife.
It's a Bowie knife.
Right.
This is a booby trap right here. You can't really make it out, but it looks like some kind of a panda skull of sorts.
Of sorts, yeah.
But it looks like it's part of those ancient ruins that they're in here, and we get to see the booby trap where they all have to duck, and these laser beams
The
go out.
Penitent man kneels before God.
Oh, you're right. From Last Crusade.
Yeah.
No, luckily they're not tall enough to be hit.
Yeah, right. They're not tall enough. This is giving you those Indiana Jones vibes, though, right? I mean, this is the part that could be a lot of fun, and like if we actually get on this adventure and are actually looking for treasure, like you could really have a lot of fun with that type of story. And that serial aspect of things, I think, is always a lot of fun. Okay, so could you tell who this is?
Well, it's starting to not look like Jod.
Yeah, so we got it for those listening. We've got another. This is the pirates again that are the people that are outside the ships that were in the suits that we talked about before. We get kind of a close up, still kind of blurry cam here, but it's difficult to tell who this character is. It does not appear to, at first glance, to be one of our heroes, but they're trying to move like these objects and do something. But that's like an explosive. They're trying to land on.
And I don't know if that's tied to this. It looks like they're putting a detonator charge on it, because then it cuts to the explosion, which that is definitely the explosion that we see at the very beginning. Earlier on, we were talking about where those guys are on the grappling or the tow cables or whatever it is.
Right.
But that looks like some kind of connecting chamber between the Onyx Cinder and spaceport or another ship of sorts.
Yeah, like a boarding type of tube.
Yep. This is where SM33 finishes off that line of in mountains where none dare go. Let's see here. This is Wim and Neil climbing some kind of a ladder, clearly not been made by the Empire because it's got a safety cage around it. So
very true.
They're also tethered.
Are rectifying certain problems. Yeah. So
I don't know if you can tell, but they're tethered. At least Wim is. You can see him. He's got some kind of a line or something attached. That might not be Neil, actually. That might be KB.
It looks like KB, yeah.
And that may not even be Wim. That might be that might be Fern, actually.
We're pulled away pretty far here. Yeah.
I think it's actually Fern and KB now that I say that. That's a shot of them seeing the Onyx Cinder get destroyed that we talked about in the teaser breakdowns. We don't really talk about that.
Being eaten by the recycler or something.
Yeah, the Transformer. This is Jod. I'm assuming those are that's definitely KB because of the visor that she's got on. But they look to be incognito, running away from that, lavish resort hotel place, trying to get out of there. This is the message from her mom, but those are the pirates. That's one of the pirates on the left-hand side. So either they've intercepted this message or they've boarded the Onyx Cinder where the message is being broadcast, which I think is probably the case given the chairs. Those look like those two chairs we were talking about, which were upside down.
Right.
But this is her mom saying, what was the line there? If you hear this, don't give up. Not really sure what's going on here. Looks like an action sequence. They're on some kind of a platform suspended by these cables. And there's another one over there on the left-hand side that gets hit with something. You can see it fly in right there, barely in one shot right there.
Right.
Hits the other one. That blows up. Sends them kind of reeling, spinning. You can see that there. And then here's the money shot as far as I'm concerned. No pun intended. That looks to me like a golden weequay. You see how it's got the bones coming out the bottom?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
So when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, that's freaking Hondo Inaka's like treasure room or something, or his pirate cove, or his, secret base that they've stumbled upon.
I'm all in on this series. It's going to be amazing because Hondo's going to be in it.
Well played. Well played.
You have re-inspired me and invigorated my energy for the show.
It's a Weequay. It totally is.
It does look like a Weequay. You're right. Yeah, I didn't even catch that part of this. That's a good catch. I just kept blinking. I kept thinking like Monkey Island.
Right. Yeah. Stuff. Well, at first it does kind of look more monkey-ish, but I don't know what the skull of a Weequay looks like. Well, now I do, I guess. But yeah. So maybe it's Hondo's, maybe it's not. But whatever it is, it does feel like this is kind of like the treasure that they were in search of. You can see Jod back there too. He's kind of looking up where all the other kids are looking straight.
Right.
Not really sure what's going on there, but
yeah,
it ends.
Definitely got his back right against the door, kind of distance from the others, just a little bit. So interesting.
So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot here to be intrigued about. Totally get it now. So,
yeah. And then all that overlaid with the music, right? The music puts a totally different vibe on all of it too.
Yeah,
if you're you just watch it with us here on the screen without music, you would think, okay, it's got a normal Star Wars score, right? But you lay over just the power of sound and the power of music, right? Completely shift the perception of what it is that you're watching. So a very different vibe, and it definitely gives it one more of kind of mystery and adventure in a very different way that I think potentially could fit like this Goonies type of style, and we'll see if people react and respond to that, and see if that's something that they want to gravitate towards. So but again, everything it all looks pretty solid. I mean, there's just some story elements I'm hoping we'll get more of over the next few weeks here as the media machine gets going. But I so far, not bad at all.
Yeah, and I think one of the questions I want to tackle when we'll eventually do a final hype show, which is a tradition here where we kind of give our final thoughts, impressions, and weigh in on everything that's been disclosed officially by Lucasfilm. I think one of maybe the proverbial question, and one that we've talked about already, but I do want to hit harder when we get to that show, is who is this series for, right? Who is the target audience? Who's going to enjoy it the most, kind of thing. And I don't think it's probably premature. I think it's fine. I think it's fun and fair to talk about that stuff now. But to your point that you just made, as we get more elements of the storyline and as more comes out, as we ramp up towards that December 3rd showing, we'll probably get, that'll firm up a lot more, I would hope at that point. So
yeah, absolutely. But we're here. We're finally getting something. So this is exciting to be able to at least start moving it forward and feel like we are getting towards a new premiere where it felt like pretty vacant for a while. So this is exciting to at least have something to start talking about.
Yeah. All right. Before we get out of here, I know you got some shout outs for some people that joined us for the live stream tonight.
Yeah. Super big thanks to everyone on the live stream. If you're curious about coming out and joining us, cantinacast.com/YouTube, subscribe to the channel. We'd appreciate it if you liked and leave us a comment as well. Let us know what you think about the trailer. Did it work for you? What are your thoughts on it? Where might the series go? Anything that we didn't mention that you think is worthwhile, leave us a comment. We'll be sure to check those out and respond to them. Special thanks to Alex, Sky, My Star Wars Guys, One versus CPU, Music Train, and only Vader's Girl now. Thank you, Kara, for coming out. We appreciate everyone coming out. We see you, all the folks in the background. We hope you will join us again next time.
Yes. And if you find Hondo's ship, let me know. I swear I saw somebody take a screenshot of it, and it definitely looked like it. So again, I'm not trying to throw more red meat to Jonesy's way, but it is what it is. You have your little action figure? Oh, there he is. Look at that.
Dude. Hondo's ready.
He's ready to go. So is Jonesy.
All right. I could be ready in a heartbeat. Yep.
Okay, guys, we're going to end the show there. Join us. We're going to switch over to Patreon, where we'll break down episode 5 of A New Hope. The circle is now complete. And then don't forget, on Wednesday, we'll come back and do Insurgency Rising number 2. That's the comic series from Marvel. So we'll see you guys here in just a few minutes.
You're still listening? Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm here to give you the disclaimer. Normally we do a big, long, drawn-out disclaimer thing saying what's what and who's what and all that other stuff, but I think you guys kind of know that Lucasfilm and Disney have no affiliation with us at all, and we have none with them. We talk about Star Wars, which is their property, and all that other good fun stuff. But I think you can tell which is our stuff and which is their stuff. If you can't, well, then send a lawyer to send an email to me, and I'll be glad to chat with them. Other than that, you know what's what. So that's your disclaimer.